All right, Steeler fans, it is Friday, the second half of the Let's Ride podcast. Means it's time for the All Betz Are Off segment with Jeremy Betz. What's up, Jeremy? How's it going?
It's going great, Jeff. It's busy, but the things are going well, and good to see you. Good to talk some Steelers with you.
Yeah, man, for sure. I cannot believe the training camp is over. It feels like just yesterday we were talking about the rolling into camp and surprises and storylines. My question for you is something I talked about in the first half. When you think back on the 2.5 weeks or give or take some days there, what have we learned about the 2025 Steelers from training camp?
Oh, man. So this kind of goes back to some of the things I've been talking about as far as like the additions to the roster. And I think one thing that's kind of been lost in the shuffle is that these guys are like, the guys that the Steelers added this offseason are like superstar players. I mean, they're league all pros and pro bowlers. I mean, from Aaron Rodgers to DK Metcalf to Jalen Ramsey to Jonnu Smith. I mean, all the big acquisitions we've talked about are just that. There are former world-class athletes in the NFL. And part of the question has been, will they live up to that billing in Pittsburgh a little bit past maybe their prime years, specifically for Rodgers and for Jalen Ramsey.
Right.
And I think that it's been an emphatic yes that these guys are who we think they are. As Jalen Ramsey, it absolutely changes how they play in the secondary. He's been all over receivers. He's been clean. He's gotten the interceptions. He's gotten the tip balls. He's done everything you could have hoped for from a position flexibility standpoint and an impact play standpoint on the field. Aaron Rodgers started slow, but he is impacting things pre-snap. The snap center quarterback exchange has gotten better. He's reading out things in the red zone. The offense is winning regularly in team drills. And then DK Metcalf, just to point him out, I mean, the guy's uncoverable in one-on-ones. Nobody can stick with him other than Jalen Ramsey. It's just been proven over and over again, and that's why you brought each of those guys in here. And so, I don't know. I've been kind of half-hearted with my takes on these guys because I just didn't know how it was going to end up, and I think a lot of Steelers fans have. But I think the biggest takeaway from camp for me is that the Pittsburgh Steelers got some studs when they made these moves. They're going to be impactful if they're on the field, and I think that there is a real ceiling-raising aspect to some of the players that they brought in this offseason.
I agree. I was going to bring up Jalen Ramsey anyways because I don't know if you caught any of the Pivot podcasts where he joined Channing Crowder, Fred Taylor, and Ryan Clark. But
like a couple clips. But
okay.
Yeah.
I've actually started. I've got about 10 minutes in. It's almost like 45 minutes to an hour or so.
Yeah.
But you listen to this guy talk, and I've always had this perception of Jalen Ramsey. I think we all have. Ever since his Florida State days, we've all had this perception of Jalen Ramsey. And the perception is not false, but it's the fact that he is a football lover. He loves the game of football. I think sometimes because there's a little bit of flash to a player, a little bit of edge to a player, people think they don't care. People think that they just kind of this is not necessarily their favorite thing to do. He talked about how this training camp was his favorite training camp because it got back to what he loves the most, football. But he talked about playing the nickel and saying, I am so fine playing the nickel. I don't need to play on the outside. And he talked about Charles Woodson, his favorite defensive back of all time. And now he went back and watched film back when he was just getting into the league, all these clips of Charles Woodson playing in the nickel. And he learned it, and he was good at it. And he's just diving back into that well. I just can only imagine if you have Darius Slay, Joey Porter Jr., and Jalen Ramsey all healthy, can you think of a better defensive backfield in terms of cornerbacks than those three?
No. I mean, I was going through it the other day across the league, and like when you roll out three corners and you're like, cover your man this play. I don't know if there's anybody else that I'm taking over those three guys to just man up one play or in pivotal moments, like one drive at the end of a game. On paper, we haven't seen it in a game yet with those three guys, so obviously some of this is projection. But I think you're absolutely right that this has the makings to be not just a side unit on the defense like it has been in previous years outside of like Minkah Fitzpatrick in the secondary, I think that it can drive success for the Pittsburgh Steelers just like the front seven can, and maybe even just like this linebacker core can if some of the things that we've heard about them come together. So there's been a lot of talk from the players and Mike Tomlin. They seem very positive and optimistic that this is like one of the best defenses that we're going to have seen in a while.
Yeah.
They don't need to say too much more to get me to buy in on that. I just need to see it on the field.
All right, let's stick with the defensive backfield. True or false? The addition of Jalen Ramsey, Darius Slay with Joey Porter Jr., we talked about that trio of cornerbacks, doesn't put as much of an emphasis on the safety position and the need to have a Minkah Fitzpatrick type in the backfield. Do you agree or disagree? True or false?
Very true. Very true. I think the fact that you didn't have those guys who you can just say, man up, get on a guy, shut him down. You didn't have that up front. It forced you to have to. And I was listening to the Athletic Football Show today, actually, and they were talking about how Minkah Fitzpatrick had turned into a deterrence factor on the defense instead of a playmaker. And if you're going to be paying a guy to be a deterrence, and that's it at the safety position, then why not go to a Juan Thornhill and a rotation of guys on the back end to do that?
Right.
That's fine. You can. Those guys are more a dime a dozen. But the impact play now for Pittsburgh is going to be closer to the line of scrimmage. It's going to be on tight ends and wide receivers in the slot, in line, and they didn't have the ability to do that before. Because they do now, it absolutely does takes some of the edge off of what you need at safety in order to cover up for some of those mistakes. So I agree, it's totally true.
All right, let's go to the other side of the football. I want to get your take on some Week 1 preseason action and performances. Let's start with your boy, Caleb Johnson. That's your boy. You were all about him, and I still am. But there were some. It was his first NFL action. We'll put it plain and simple, not a regular season game, but there was some hesitation there. What was your take as someone who was a devout? Like, I'm glad they got this guy. What was your takeaway after preseason Week 1 against Jacksonville?
Yeah, well, let me say this. This segment's called All Betz Are Off, right?
That's true.
I'm not as unhinged on here as I need to be sometimes. I think I'm not as all bets are off as I need to be. If you are somebody out there who's saying, "Oh, this guy has no burst and he's just Najee 2.0," go touch some grass, go sit down and rethink your life a little bit, because it's one freaking preseason game. People, calm down a little bit. I think that it's speed of the game. It's all the things that happen with rookies. You've got to be able to feel this out a little bit. You've got to be able to, the things you did in college, they're not going to be the same things that are successful for you here, because the game is so much faster here. You got to be able to feel out the speed at which you need to process things, and how to see the holes developing, and getting a chance to do that for the first time against an opposing defense is something that needs to happen for you to get your feet underneath you. That's all this was. Get your feet underneath the game for Ashton Jeanty, or I'm sorry, not Ashton Jeanty, Caleb Johnson. The reason I say Ashton Jeanty is because I was going to use him as the example here. He had 3 carries for -1 yard. Jeff, you have more rushing yards in the preseason than Ashton Jeanty does.
That's right. Yes.
Nobody's crying that this guy's a bust, and I think that it's just overblown, the limited stuff. And when he was in with the first team offensive line, you saw him bounce one outside. He got tripped up. That's a 10-yard gain if he doesn't get tripped up there. He ran up the middle and converted a 3rd and 4 on a dive play. I mean, the guy was fine, I think, with the first team offensive line. Don't go crazy on this guy. He's always been a guy that needs a runway to get going, to show that burst and that athleticism down the field. It's going to take some time for that to happen. That's why I've always said by about mid-season, I think that this guy's going to be the lead back for the Steelers.
What you said was not just indicative of Caleb Johnson. It was really anyone's performance. You got to take it, again, I call it the grain of salt season. You got to take it with a grain of salt. But was there anyone's performance, offensively or defensively, in Week 1 of the preseason that made you say, like, I was expecting a little bit more?
Okay. That's a good one, because I thought you were going to go really positive. I was going to say Troy Fautanu was like, this guy's
had a great game. Great game.
This guy is exactly who we think he's going to be, and he's going to be great. As far as somebody who maybe didn't pop.
I'll give you one.
Okay, go ahead.
I was hoping to see Jack Sawyer get around the quarterback a little bit more.
Okay, there you go.
That's all. Again, first time, he doesn't have someone opposite him who's really drawing attention. And everything that we read about him coming out of Ohio State was that he's not that guy.
Yeah.
And he didn't look like that guy. He's a hustle player. Like he always has been. I was hoping to see a little bit more pass rush from him. But again, I'm not going to bemoan the fact. But did anyone come to mind?
Yeah. Okay, so that's a great one because like edge setter, right? That's what he is. Just power guy. He's going to stop the run. And get sacks if the quarterback runs around a little bit. Okay, so if I had to pick one, then it would probably be Derek Harmon. I thought Y.A. Black jumped off the page when he was on the field more than Derek Harmon did. But then you go back and kind of look at the film, and it's like, yeah, he was still winning quick when the Jaguars' first team offense was out there, but they were just spraying the ball over the field quickly. He didn't have a chance to impact. I did think he got washed out in some running plays, which I thought that would kind of be a little bit more just plug and play as a run defender. And maybe it still is, again, grain of salt stuff like you're saying, but he did get caught in the wash a little bit in run defense. So that would be the guy I would give you there.
All right, without talking about specific players, let's shift our focus to week 2. Tampa Bay Buccaneers at home, Acrisure Stadium. What, from a team perspective, are you hoping to see? I thought personally that if you go back and look at week 1, it was pretty clear that Arthur Smith wanted to set up the offense in a certain way. And what we saw was play action passes. Let's get them some quick wins, especially the offensive line. Get their legs underneath them, get them some confidence. They never really tried to run the ball until Lou Nichols came into the game in the fourth quarter. So using that as an example, what do you want to see from the Steelers offensively and defensively in week 2?
Well, offensively, that's exactly what I want to see is a run game emphasis. I want to see that unit come out on the field. I'm sure, again, we don't know who's going to play, but if the first team offense is out there again on the offensive line, those guys getting into run blocking sets and driving and working like the outside zones and things like that's what I want to see like as the focal point for the offense. And then you can build stuff off of that, obviously. Depending on who starts at quarterback, that all that stuff is going to be up in the air. But when you're talking about like process and design, I just want to see if we could see like a 2-series sequence where, I don't know, they don't necessarily need to score points, but where the running game is like comfortably over 4 yards a carry for a couple series in a row when some of your guys that are going to be out there more regularly are out there. Just kind of more cohesive, plays building off of each other. That's kind of what I'd like to see from the offense. And then on the defensive side, I thought that the linebackers kind of flowed to the ball really well in the first preseason game, but I don't think they made any splash plays. Like there weren't any tackles for loss, that they weren't like knifing into the backfield. I'd like to see the linebackers coming downhill be a little bit more aggressive, hitting in the hole, stopping the run, getting off blocks, making tackles for loss, flowing to the ball on run defense from the off-ball players, not necessarily the front guys. I thought those guys were fine, but I would like to see those linebackers get upfield and attack and be a little bit more decisive in that regard. I kind of felt like they were waiting for things to develop a little bit too much, and that's why we didn't see them in the backfield. So we'll see who plays, but those are the guys that I'm kind of looking at. Right now, I really like the front guys, right? The front 4 or 5, whatever that's going to be, depending on the defensive package. I really like the secondary. My focus is kind of switched to how good is this linebacker core, because if they're fine, then that's good. But if they're great, then this might be a really, really good defense.
Hey, what are you talking about? Peyton Wilson suplexed the guy last week. I don't know if you saw
He sure
that.
did. It was 4 yards down the field, but he did suplex.
Well, he tried to carry him backwards to make it a tackle for loss. It just didn't work out the way he had planned. I thought Cole Holcomb at least acclimated himself well. I think this next step for him is to take the next step, and that's to be a little bit more aggressive. I agree with you there 100%.
I gotta say, there was one rep from Malik Harrison that was like, okay, this is why the Steelers brought him in as kind of like their Landon Roberts replacement.
Yeah.
A guard, I think, pulled into the gap, and Harrison just blew him off his
Stunned
feet.
him. Yep.
It was the guy didn't know what to do. I don't think he knew where he was for a couple seconds there. And I was like, yeah, that's why you do that. He's not going to cover for you. He's going to be good on special teams. But if he can fill gaps like that against his old team, the Ravens, that's going to look pretty fun.
I mean, that's what Landon Roberts did. Someone did a whole film of last year where pulling guards, like Landon Roberts was just lighting dudes up. Like that was all he did. Just disrupt the freaking play. Yeah, it's incredible. Yeah. But it's crazy when you think about the fact that we're already in week 2 of the preseason. I don't even know if it's worth talking about, but I'll ask you, what do you think about this punting battle? I mean, I never thought it was even a battle. I thought it was Cameron Johnston based on contract, but they seem to be going tit for tat, so to speak, for you get the first punt, you'll get the second punt. What do you think about this?
I mean, punter talk is not my thing, I guess. But,
hey,
but
Jeff Coons, shout out to Jeff Coons, hashtag punter talk on Twitter.
That's right. Every day, I get see a tweet from him on that. But so if there is a real battle, then and you're looking at game performance, then Waitman wins round 1. He had the higher average, and I think and he punted twice, and Johnson only punted once. So I guess win number 1-0 for Corliss Waitman there. I don't know if it ends up being that kind of battle because Johnson did get the bigger contract. But it is interesting to me because Waitman was incredible for the Steelers last year, and he deserves to have a shot in a battle type scenario. So we'll see how it plays out, but I think money wins out in the end.
All right, we'll see, and we'll talk next week. Next week, shoot, I don't even know what we're going to do next week. We'll have a post-game show. We might not even have – I don't know what the hell's going on next week. We're just trying to get through this week. So enjoy the game. Jeremy, why don't you let us know what's coming up on the podcast side as well as on the written side?
All right, podcast. We got the Steelers fix. Last week we did offensive stat predictions. We're doing defense this week. So by the time you listen to this, that will have been up on all platforms. So check that one out. And then the Draft Dynasty podcast, we hit some sleepers last week. Not sure what we'll have done this week, but stay tuned for that one. Working that out with my co-host there. And then the Steelers Q&A, stay tuned for that because as the season gets here, right, the schedule will change with that one a little bit. So stay tuned, but hoping to have a couple special guests. I had Jack Sperry from Steelers Talk on last week. It was a lot of fun. So we'll have some more Steel Curtain Network guys on over the coming weeks as the season gets started. And then from the written side, writing for PFI now, so check out some stuff on ProFootballInsiders.com. And then Steelers or SteelCurtainNetwork.com. I've got the power rankings, and then I did another piece, but I've got a piece about Cam Hayward coming out here soon as well.
Right. Good stuff, Jeremy. As always, thanks for your time, man. We'll talk next week, maybe. I don't know. Take it easy.
Maybe. We'll see. We'll talk soon, right?
Yeah, there you go.
Good. All right.